We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.
Good morning and welcome to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am your host and your navigator, Robert Phoenix. The date is 1/11/12, and we are just a little over halfway through. Well, more than halfway through. About a little over halfway through. The sun is at 20 degrees Capricorn, and the moon today is in Leo, 21 degrees, opposing Venus. So whenever we get into a Moon-Venus opposition, we tend to get a bit of a power struggle at times with relationships. Moon and Leo can be very demanding, like this is what I need, this is what I'm going to do to make myself feel good, listen to me, respect me. These are all kind of hallmarks of the Moon and Leo. An evolved aspect of Moon and Leo is emotional benevolence, emotional abundance, taking somebody out to lunch, taking somebody out for coffee, buying somebody a glass of wine. These would be very Moon and Leo kind of experiences. Telling somebody that you love them is a very Moon and Leo kind of experience. And maybe this is something you could practice on today. You know, maybe you could tell somebody that you don't expect that you love them. Try that on for size. See how that feels. I mean, you may like them a lot, and you may choose to cross over a line to say, you know what would it cost me in terms of money, in terms of emotional investment, to tell you that I love you? How much would it cost me to do that? Well, it really wouldn't cost you anything at all. Maybe it would cost you your sense of propriety. Maybe it would cost you your sense of shame or guilt or whatever you're carrying around that keeps you from saying to somebody, "I love you." So this is the Leo moon. The Venus is in Aquarius right now. It's at the end of Aquarius. It's at 27 degrees, and Venus in Aquarius loves everybody, right? Loves everybody. I love you. I love you. I love you. But from a safe distance. From a nice, detached, safe distance. Moon and Leo just gets right in your face and says, "I love you. Let me give you a hug." So these are the evolved aspects of the two signs. If we are dealing with experiences where, from a Venus and Aquarius perspective, like you are getting kind of enough sort of base needs around being liked, but you'd really want to be loved by somebody, this Leo moon, Venus Aquarius opposition will bring it out. You'll want to have that kind of confirmation about feeling loved, feeling respected, feeling cared for. So this is kind of the dynamic between the moon and Venus today in these two signs. It's always shifting. Next week the moon will be in a different sign, and certainly Venus will be in a very different sign. Venus in Capricorn, that's coming up. And when Venus in Capricorn arises, relationships become much more pragmatic. Much more pragmatic. It's about what can you do for me in order for me to facilitate my social relevance or some sort of rise in a particular hierarchy. Venus in Capricorn highlights business relationships and negotiations. So anybody that is business oriented or has to get into the business side of things, Venus in Capricorn is actually a really good time to push that. Maybe not so great for personal relationships, but certainly professional relationships, you can get a lot done. One of the reasons why is because Venus in Aquarius can be very detached and have what I call at its core social agape. There is still this sense of humanity. I'm sorry, my bad. Venus moves into terrible on my part. Venus moves into Pisces. My bad. It moves into Pisces next week. I have to re-rack my rant. My guides just knocked me up my head. Said, "Hey, Robert, Pisces. Pisces is the sign." Thank you. Subjective, very subjective Venus in Pisces. So you all wound up in the love thing that I left my head behind. So Venus is in Pisces, moves into Pisces next week. It's a very, very subjective, much more need-driven, much more need-driven aspect. So what I wanted to do today is we just had I'm going to do readings. So 510-347, I see you both out there. I'll circle back, especially 510 since you've been on for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna circle back and do some readings in a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to look at the three main candidates. The three main. I'm not even sure if they're candidates. I mean, if you follow my blog and you follow kind of my shows, my other shows, you know that I think that that the election process is mostly a farce. That our candidates are essentially selected for us, and this has been going on ever since Woodrow Wilson. There's a pretty interesting guy named John Coleman who wrote a book called The Committee of 300, and you can find his stuff on YouTube. And there's like hour-long talks that Coleman gets into around this process. Coleman is fascinating. I think he's got a lot of good information. I think there's a very good chance he might be British MI6 because there is some disinformation that I found in some of Coleman's stuff. But that's the way it is in the truth game. And you can find 90% really, really good information. And then you get 10% that is not really very good. And that 10% can really distort your relationship to the truth. So you're getting what feels like a lot of it, but you're not getting all of it. But my experience has been with the election process that it's pretty much a rigged game. That we are given candidates based on what we need at a certain time. Certainly when we saw George H.W. Bush or Bush II, when we saw in that election in 2000 with the travesty of Florida. I mean, where were you on election night? You're following this heated election between Bush and Al Gore. That election, by the way, was Al Gore's to lose. I mean, he, based on his political connections, his relationship with Clinton, although if you really understand what Bill Clinton is all about, he was much more connected to the Bush family than he is to the Gore family. So that wasn't really a given that Bush would step out and stump. And he didn't. He didn't stump very hard for Al Gore. That's because he's much more connected. Over the past 10 years, how many times have you seen Bill Clinton with the elder Bush whether it's for Katrina, whether it's for Haiti, whether it's for Thailand and relief. Those guys are arm in arm. You know, when the Clinton Library opened in Little Rock, who was there? It was George Bush. I mean, they have a very long-standing relationship. So there's no surprise to me that Bill Clinton did not come out hard for Al Gore. So I just lost a caller. Oh, well. Come back. I promise you I'll get to the astrology stuff at some point. But I'm working up to a point, okay? I'm working up to a point. So when Gore ran against Bush, it was hot and heavy. I'll never forget this. I was in Redwood City. I was working at eMusic, and we're following the election online. Of course, I'm not really that into it because I'm already jaded. I was jaded years ago, by the way. And all of a sudden, this whole thing with Florida comes up. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, the fix is in. The fix is in. And then I did the math. And then it was like, oh, this is Jeb Bush's stick. Are you kidding me? Well, the Supreme Court had no right to overturn that. The Supreme Court essentially placed George Bush into the White House. They had no right whatsoever. And the voter incongruencies in Florida were just off the charts. You know, from hanging chads to disallowing votes because people had been incarcerated, just complete and utter bullshit. What they should have done is they should have had a clean paper ballot election or clean paper ballot recount or re-election in Florida. That's what they should have theoretically done. Or they should have just theoretically gone with the results as they were, which meant that Al Gore would have been the next president. But they couldn't do that, so it was rigged. They had to get him in there, okay? He did such a shitty job, pissed off so many people, that they couldn't get him reelected the second time, and they couldn't have a major kind of snafu like they did in Florida. So what they did is they brought in John Kerry, his skull and bones brother, and they ran the two together. And then, of course, they had a few voter inconsistencies in places like Ohio and in Illinois. So, again, there were voter problems. And instead of having a candidate that would have been really angry about it and would have made a big deal about it, they had a skull and bones brother, John Kerry, just kind of walk away. Now, John Kerry, think about this. John Kerry has been rewarded nicely by putting on the super committee and all that stuff. But he just went away. John Kerry just went away quietly, tail between his legs. So now we had these two elections where it was clear that the president was being chosen for us. There was an 8-year plan for George Bush to get a lot of things done. And he got them done. His administration got them done. So now we have the next election. People are angry. Oh, my God, we can't have another Bush. Oh, so what do we have? We have Barack Obama. Barack Obama comes literally out of nowhere. In the early days of Barack Obama, he was talking. He was priming. He was primping and pimping himself out to be a constitutional lawyer. That he was going to stand by constitutional law. That he was going to close Guantanamo. He was going to end renditions. He was going to bring the troops home. And people had 8 years of psychic trauma with George Bush. They didn't have to rig the election. All they needed to do was to bring in a candidate that people would trample over themselves to vote for. And that's what they had. They had a guy who had very little voting record, hardly any voting record at all. And what he did was pretty much neutral. And he was really campaigning on everything that everybody wanted to hear at that time. And so what did they do? They brought John McCain out of the mothballs. And John McCain stood no chance against Barack Obama. Even with nutty Sarah Palin by his side, no chance whatsoever. None. Slam dunk, fait accompli, game over. Obama wins. Chosen. They didn't have to rig the vote. What has happened in the last 4 years? well, the last 4 years could have been George Bush, all right, with the exception of Obamacare. But if you really drill down and look at Obamacare, written by essentially the insurance lobby, John Holdren, Zeke Emanuel, amongst others. I mean, that's where Obamacare came from, modeled on Romney Care to some extent. So we were given Barack Obama. All our presidents are essentially chosen for us. Now, that being said, I think there's always a bit of flux when these things happen. Now, Hillary really should have been the slam dunk, right? But what had happened, this is from what I understand, what I know of, was that Bill Clinton did a side deal with the Chinese. And he made some, I don't know, I think it was like $25 million, some $50 million or something like that. It was in the world of big finance, it was not that much money. But apparently there were people who are part of that network that wanted a cut of that deal, and he didn't give it to them. So they made him pay politically by basically putting the brakes on Hillary and saying, you know what, you're not going to get elected. You screwed up. You can be a part of the administration, but this is not your time, not your term. Done. So now we have three candidates, and we have Barack Obama, besides Barack Obama. Three potentially strong candidates. Mitt Romney, obviously a slam dunk. I think he loses against Obama unless something really egregious happens in the next few months. And then we have Ron Paul, an outsider, and then we have John Huntsman, who I think probably could probably be Barack Obama. But we're going to get into this a little bit. I know we're going to do readings, but what I want to do is I want to look at some of the charts of Romney, Paul, and Huntsman, because part of this is, at least for me, is to be able to share with you astrology, not just share with you, what your life is like and all that stuff, right? Or what your life can be, but to actually get a working understanding of astrology to some extent. Okay, so the first person's chart I want to look at is Mitt Romney, and I have his chart up here. Let me see if I can. I'm going to put the link in the chat room right now. This is from a website called Astrological. Pretty good website. It's based out of France. They have a lot of free charts up there. It's a good resource. I recommend it. So I'm going to put this up here and put in. This is Mitt Romney's chart right here. Okay, I just put the link in. So when we look at his chart, you can if you're not in the chat room, wow, where did everybody go in the chat room? Did my political talk scare everybody off? Jeez, man. Talk about separation of church and state. I saw a bunch of people in the chat room, and then they went away. Tell you what, let me do this. Let me get to the people that are holding. I'm going to do this. I'm going to clear the lines. I'm going to do a couple of reasons. Maybe if these people want their charts looked at, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get it out of the way, and then we're going to look at these charts and talk a little astrology, because these people have been waiting for a while. So let's get into this. I'm flexible. I'm spontaneous, and I'm about to exercise my right of spontaneity and free will right now. Hey, you're on the air with Robert. Thank you for holding.
Hi there. My name is Rachel, and I'm really enjoying the political talk today. This is very interesting.
Well, thanks, Rachel. Thanks for getting in there and enjoying. Yeah.
Yeah. My question, I would like to know what you see for me in my career for this year. I'm without a job, and I'm hopefully something great is going to come for me. Okay.
Tell you what, let me do this. I'm going to fire up the software here, and I'm actually going to do do you know your birth time? That's very important.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let me do this. Let me find the right piece here, and I'm going to do your natal chart for you. Rachel.
I know my sun is in Cancer and my moon is in Leo. That's what I know.
When's your birthday?
July 9, 56, and I was born in Chicago at 6:07 p.m.
July 9, 6:07 p.m. Okay. And you're born in Chicago, huh? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, no wonder you would find the political stuff interesting. Let's see what we got here. All right, I'm looking at your chart now, and you want to focus on employment, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Well, the good news is, so when we look when I look at a chart, and somebody asks me why, I want to get a job or I want to be more gainfully employed, what I try to do as an astrologer is I try to determine, where the action is happening in particular houses that would be job related. Those would be the 6th house, the 10th house, and in some ways the 2nd, 8th, and 1st houses. And I'll break down those houses respectively. Let's start with the 6th house. The 6th house is the house of work, purpose, service. It is, while the 10th house relates to career, the 6th house is much more personal. It's like what you share with the world, how you share it, where you get your kind of raison d'etre, your training, apprenticeships, what makes what floats your boat, why you're here to some extent. That's the 6th house. The 10th house is the stage in which you share it, okay? So the 6th house for you have a very small part of your 6th house is devoted to Taurus, okay? So most of your 6th house is Gemini. Now, the good news is that Jupiter is going to be transiting your 6th house throughout most of 2012. So that's good. I mean, so if you want to look at timing-wise and opportunity-wise, basically from like June on, you're going to have Jupiter in your 6th house. Jupiter is the planet of opportunity. Things happen easily with Jupiter. There is a sense of grace with Jupiter. It's like doing without doing. It is the most, sort of easy planet theoretically in the solar system and in the pantheon of astrology and system of astrology. So we look at that and say, well, this is great. She's got Jupiter moving into her house of purpose and service and work. So the opportunity there for you is on the way. Okay. How does that manifest? Well, we look at the 6th house, and Gemini has a very particular flavor in the 6th house. Anything that's related to detail-oriented activity, whether it's proofreading, editing, statistics, communication to some extent. People that have Gemini on the 6th house can be very good at PR and creating awareness, specifically local awareness. Teaching can also be a very Gemini-related activity. And when I say teaching, lower grade teaching, anywhere from kindergarten up through high school, really would be a very Gemini-related activity. So, so one of the things that you would want to do during that time, I don't know, what your work is, but that type of work could be very available to you with a Jupiter transition of Gemini going through your 6th house in Gemini. So you would look at stuff like proofreading, copy editing, teaching, systems analysis on some level, PR, especially local PR, working with local groups, anything that is like around your house, within about a 25-mile, 50-mile radius of your house, that can be also very community-oriented, would be very, very good for you. So I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but you may want to expand the scope of your work during that Jupiter transit to incorporate some of the things that I'm talking about. currently Saturn is in your 10th house, and it's right on your Neptune. It's a hard position for Saturn to be in sometimes, because especially with a Saturn Neptune, with Neptune in your 10th house and Saturn being there, one of the things that you could suffer from would be depression, right? Like, I'm not doing what I'm here to be doing with my life, my purpose, and all these things that are sort of really soul driven are not being actualized in the world. I may never get to live my life dream and my life purpose. These are all Saturn on Neptune kind of realizations in the 10th house. So, one of your bigger challenges will be dealing with your spirit and staying optimistic and feeling like, there's a good second act for you in life, that your ability to make an impact in your career and in other people's lives is not over, okay? So that's really important to kind of, cogitate and work with in your life. What happens with Saturn is that especially on Neptune, is that it will kill illusion. So you have to be, in a lot of ways, it's like chemotherapy, Saturn on Neptune. It kills illusion, but you don't want it to kill everything. You don't want to be so dispirited that you can't get out of bed in the morning. But what it leaves you with is things that are very, very workable. It's like, okay, this is what I can do now versus what I thought I could do then. And it's a very realistic and very pragmatic kind of process. The other thing that I know about Saturn on Neptune is it's really hard to start new projects and to have new initiative with Saturn on Neptune. This is kind of it's along the lines of what I'm talking about, like keeping your spirits up. I mean, traditional astrology says that this is one of the worst times to kind of recreate yourself with Saturn on Neptune. But what it leaves you with is kind of a sense of pragmatism, but also, if the physical world is not being responsive to the actualization of your will, that doesn't mean the spiritual world won't. So Saturn on top of Neptune is also pushing you to take a much more active role in your spiritual life, and to find ways where you can begin to work with subtle energies, and you can work small. You can work in small ways, like being able to kind of manifest, things in indirect fashion, like putting things out to the universe in a very subtle way. Like, I'd really like a parking spot today, stuff like that. I'd really like to go into the grocery store and find a really short line, in a fast line. This is Saturn on Neptune. It's very subtle, and it starts small, but you can begin to kind of work up your ability to manifest through subtle realms. It's not a great time to be, like, hey, I'm going to go climb the Mount Everest of my career life. It's just not. Now, the good news is that Saturn will be moving off of your Neptune right around the same time Jupiter's moving into your 6th house. So this is good timing. Saturn will be in Scorpio, and it will move into your 11th house in August. And right around that time, Jupiter will be in your 6th house. So timing-wise, I would say that if you could just work on, your spiritual growth, maintaining your spirit, finding subtle ways in order to impact your immediate environment, and buy yourself some time until June, because I think in June things shift for you dramatically, and you'll have a lot more opportunity at that point. And if you can expand your idea around what you do in terms of work, that would also be quite helpful as well. I'm just trying to think to see what else you've got going on here. Let's see, Capricorn, 1st house. You've got Pluto in the 1st house right now. And, anytime you get Pluto in the 1st house, it's all about recreating yourself. There's a whole, Pluto's going to be in your first house for, another 12 years. So once you go through this big Saturn conjunction, which you're in right now, what's the person that remains or is kind of more distilled through this process is going to be much more engaged in the transformation of the personality with Pluto in the first house. Pluto in the first house is I went through that for about 12 years, started from 1996 to like 2008. It's a really powerful transit, and you really get to know yourself and how you impact your immediate environment with Pluto in the first house. So I guess what I'm sharing with you is that you've got a lot of runway ahead of you, especially with a Pluto Capricorn in the first house. You can make a significant impact on your life and the world around you in the months and in the years to come. But right now, this is a much more subtle time about building your spiritual faith. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that is something I definitely have been doing in the past year and a half. I've become very spiritually grounded and working on myself. So, definitely.
How's your relationship life?
With a partner, I don't have a boyfriend.
Okay. Well, that's going to change too with Jupiter, because you've got Venus in Gemini, and Jupiter, once it moves through, you're on a really nice Jupiter swing, okay? Jupiter is going to go through the signs of Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. And that quadrant of your chart is where most of your planets are. You've got Venus in Gemini in your 7th house, Mercury in Cancer in your 7th house, Sun in Cancer at the edge of your 7th house on the cusp of your 8th. And then you've got Uranus in Leo, Moon in Leo, and then you have Pluto in Leo, and then Jupiter in Virgo at 0 degrees. So Jupiter is rising through that part of your chart, and over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to touch every single one of those planets. The first planet being your Venus, and that's going to happen in 2013. So, Jupiter-Venus conjunction, 7th house, all that stuff, it's a bonanza for relationships and one-on-one relationships.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
So
yeah.
Let's look at this in terms of kind of a linear progression, right? You've got Jupiter coming into your 6th house. This is in June. You get to think about what you want to do, some opportunities. By the way, Jupiter Gemini, it's about starting small in some ways. Okay, so when Jupiter makes that transit, again, we're talking June, July, really picking up in August. When it makes that transit, you want to look at something where maybe you can get 20 hours a week or contract work, because that's Jupiter and Gemini. But then you get to build up. So you're going to get to work on your base, work on your work, and then again with the linear progression, then it moves up into your. This is all very kind of Maslow, right? It's like it goes from work, then Jupiter comes up to the 7th house, relationships. Then it goes into the 8th house, which is inner values, psyche, other people's finances, other people's resources. So every station along the way, Jupiter expands into kind of more abstract emotional states and emotional gratification. So I would say that you are definitely on the upswing with Jupiter.
Okay, great. Well, that's something to look forward to. Wonderful.
Yeah, I wish I could say, hey, next month everything's going to turn on a dime. And look, there's always free will, and there's always, I'm not God, okay? But I'm just reading your chart, as I see it, and so the question you posed to me was, when is the best, time period for this to take place, or what do you see?
Uh-huh.
I'm really seeing, right now with Saturn on that Neptune, just continue to build your faith. That's the biggest thing you can do right now.
Yes, definitely.
The other thing too is that you may want to, with Neptune up in your 10th house, you may want to actually do some volunteer work as well, because that could lead down the line to something interesting.
I tried that. I tried that last summer, and it was the organization I was with, but it turned into a big fiasco.
Okay.
stepped away from it.
Okay.
So I did give that a try with my whole heart.
Okay. All right. Well, tell you what, when and if things change for you, and they will change for you, why don't you call us back and let us know how that went?
I will. Great. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay,
I really
thank you,
appreciate
Rachel.
it. And I'll listen to your show on the internet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's talk to Athena's Mind. It's an intriguing handle.
Oh, I go. Hi.
Hi, is this Athena?
Yes, this is. Wait, just a second. Oh, Hammond, let me call you back, okay? Goodbye. I'm sorry. Hello.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
How are you? I'm so excited to listen to your show.
Oh, thank you. We've got a bit of a. Are you calling on Skype?
I'm calling on Skype from Middle East. Yes.
Oh, wow. Which part of the Middle East?
I'm in off of Jordan on the Red Sea.
Wow. Very intense. Well, welcome to the show, and thank you for reaching out all the way across the world to be a part of the show. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. And was calling about business. Business opportunity here.
Oh, I'm sorry, what were you calling about?
Business opportunities here.
Business opportunities there. Okay. So are you currently doing business there, or are you
Yes.
looking to do more business?
I have opened a business, and I have been a big to bring art from America to Jordan, and been patiently waiting. I feel like everything's going to go well, but I'm waiting, and so I'm wondering if something is, how long I have to wait.
Okay. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. You're a little dicey. So you're bringing artists to Jordan? Is that what you're doing? What was that?
I'm bringing art, like
Art.
Paintings.
Painting. Okay. Yeah, because it's just kind of breaking up a little bit on me. So, okay. So art to Jordan. That's good. I just kind of need the format. When is your birthday?
May 19, 1968.
May 19th. And what was the year again? Hello? Well, you've gone away on me. So I tell you what, Athena, if you're in the chat room, let me check the chat room. Why don't you go ahead and put the coordinates in the chat room? You put the coordinates in the chat room, and I will look at it or call back. I thought that was really cool. Somebody from Jordan was calling in. I'll look for that call. She's there. Yeah, the Skype was a little wonky. Well, that's at least we know that Skype can work. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that is really amazing. I mean, here I am in Richmond, California. She's back. Okay, let's see if we can get a better connection here. Athena?
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's actually a better connection. It was really hard for me to understand you. So you're born on May 19th, and what year?
1968.
68. Okay. All right. And what time?
1:12 a.m.
Okay. 12. And what part of the world?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay. Salt Lake. So did you know John Huntsman in Salt Lake City?
I didn't, but
Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at your chart. And it's really interesting, it's like you've got, okay, let me just tell you that you're in the right place.
Oh, good.
So disabuse yourself of the notion that you're not in the right place. And then the reason why that you're in the right place, as I can see it, is you have Neptune in your ninth house, right in your midheaven, and it is at the end of a finger of God or a yod coming from your third house and your fourth house. It's probably the most prominent feature in a very interesting chart, by the way. Extremely interesting chart. So you've got Venus opposing Neptune, Sun opposing Neptune. We look at Sun in the fourth house. Sun in the fourth house is, where you were born or the place that you lived, right? It's very, very fundamental. Fourth house, home, Sun, birth. And on the other side of that is Neptune all the way across the world, ninth house. And it's in the sign of spirituality and art and religion and to some extent delusion, but it's right on your midheaven, smack dab on your midheaven. So this is really interesting. Here's the beauty of having Neptune on the midheaven, right? Like, you were probably inspired to do what you're doing right now. There's no other way that you could make a move like that. That is an inspirationally based move, to bring art all the way across the world. That is pure Neptune, right? It's pure Neptune. And so there is a lot of legitimacy to that kind of inspiration. Now, the challenge is, it's kind of like, have you ever seen the movie Fitzcarraldo by any chance?
No, sorry.
So Fitzcarraldo it's the story of a guy named Fitzcarraldo who was an Irishman, and he had this desire to build an opera house in the Amazon. Okay, and he did it, but it was an enormous amount of work. And then Werner Herzog decided to make a movie about it and basically recreate the whole thing and rebuild the opera house himself. And that is a very kind of Neptunian, sort of driven, I wouldn't say it's an obsession, but a desire. And what happened is that they both were able to finish their projects, but there was an immense amount of experience that they accrued along the way, some of which was kind of unnerving. Like Jason Robards was hired to be the lead in Fitzcarraldo, and he had a heart attack. And all these things happened along the way. It became this kind of epic movie in Werner Herzog's career. It was like it really made his stamp on his life. But it was not the easiest film, and it was, in many ways, it's kind of like one of his more flawed movies too. But that's Neptune on the midheaven. It is really like the search for El Dorado, and that's where you are. You are on an inspired journey, but an inspired journey doesn't always translate into immediate success. Another example of this would be somebody like, it's kind of different, but the Spanish explorer Cabeza de Vaca, who goes to the Americas in conquest, and along the way he winds up becoming a mystical healer amongst the native tribes, and eventually winds up back with his Spanish cohorts, and is changed irrevocably based on his journey. So I guess what I'm sharing with you here is this is actually a really interesting choice and right in alignment with your chart. But part of the bargain that you make or strike with Neptune is you have to live by faith. You have to live by faith. So, every step of the way is kind of a test of your faith. Now, the good news is that if we look at the relationship between the opposition with the Sun and Venus on the back end of your yod, it's kind of like the front end and the back end of a computer system. Like right now, you and I are talking through Skype and through Blog Talk Radio, and we're seeing sort of the front end of that experience. Well, there's an enormous back end that's driving our interaction right now with robust networks and data and storage, and allowing you to have this experience all the way from Jordan. That's the back end, right? And we couldn't have this time together without a robust back end. Well, the same could be said for your experience here with your yacht. You've got a really robust back end. And let me tell you why. Let's say, for instance, you had your Chiron opposing your Neptune. And let's say you had your moon opposing your Neptune. That's a really shaky back end to base a lot of faith on. But there you have the sun, and there you have Venus also. And your sun and Venus they're in the signs of of Taurus. They're fixed. So it gives you staying power. It gives you endurance. So you have the ability to make this work. Now, if we fast forward to 2012, where is Jupiter? Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus. And just like I was sharing with the last caller, Rachel, Jupiter's that planet that it's like it gives you a boost in your life. Wherever it shows up, theoretically, it's like that's where you get that added, ballast and a sense of, oh man, this is great. I needed this, right? That's Jupiter. And Jupiter is on its way towards your Venus and Taurus. What's Venus and Taurus? Relationships, and Taurus is very, very connected to art, extremely connected to art, physical art, more along the lines of sculpture, by the way, than painting, but still painting is physical art. So now you've got Taurus coming up and getting ready to conjunct your Venus and getting ready to conjunct your Sun. And when that happens, that connection goes right up into your ninth house, and it hits your Neptune. And your Neptune piggybacks on that and says, thank you very much. This is cool. So what does that mean? Well, it means you have the potential for partnership, and not just financial partnership, but also creative partnership. Somebody who would want to create something with you, who could also help support you theoretically. That's a big deal. So here my advice to you would be to hang in there through this Jupiter transition, which culminates again in June. That's when it touches your Sun at 28 degrees Taurus, is in June. So I think you've got a great deal of optimism and opportunity based on this Jupiter transit. And I do think that with Neptune up there right in your midheaven, bringing art to countries, that are pretty far away from where you were born, is up your alley. I mean, I think that you're living your destiny, to be honest with you. The one thing that I would say is that you've got a couple other aspects that are potentially challenging. Saturn has just moved off of your natal Uranus in the 8th house. And hold on a second, am I right there? No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Saturn has moved off of Uranus and is getting closer to your 9th house. And when Saturn moves into your 9th house, it's going to solidify your place there. Saturn in your 9th house will make you feel much, much more grounded than you've ever been there before. And you're going to have about 2 years before Saturn hits your Neptune to really, cover as much ground as possible, okay? Because when Saturn hits your Neptune, again, it kind of puts the brakes on things, just like I was sharing with the last caller. Uranus, you have Chiron in Aries, okay? So you're going to have Uranus right on your Chiron very soon, like within weeks. And when you have a Uranus-Chiron conjunction, things happen really quickly, and really there are at times unintended consequences with Chiron on Uranus. Now it's in the 2nd house, so it could, Uranus in the 2nd house can be a little skittish at times when it comes to resources. So one of the things that you have to watch out for with the Uranus-Chiron conjunction is taking advantage of opportunities that only last very quickly. So so if people come into your life and offer you things that have very brief windows, you're going to have to stare it down and take them very quickly.
Okay.
Okay. So so I would say by and large, you're in a pretty solid place.
Okay. So now can I just keep the faith? And what if I were to get an offer now? Would I grab it now or need to wait?
Yeah, well, sure, absolutely, because Uranus is at 0 degrees, so it's just 2 degrees off of your natal Chiron. So it doesn't have to be direct. It doesn't have to be right on it. I mean, you should be theoretically feeling it now. The other thing too, with Uranus on Chiron and Uranus in the second house, is to look at unconventional forms of funding. Unconventional ways to access your resources. So you may want to look at partnerships or sponsorships that you may not necessarily usually consider. And when we look at Aries, the most kind of fundamental aspect of Aries is the military. That the military is Aries. So, you may want to keep your eyes and ears open with, partnering with, armed forces, either in Jordan or the United States. Maybe it's a way, because they have money. I mean, let's be honest about it. They just got, $6 billion from the United States. What happened to her? I just got dropped. Okay. Well, anyway, there's the ability to make money through very Aries-like partnerships. Okay, she's gone. Funky. Okay, let me just shut this window. Oh, she's back. Hey, you're back again. Did you hear what I said?
Sorry.
Did you hear what I said?
I missed the last 2 sentences.
Yeah, so you're Aries is related to the military.
Yeah, that's what I missed. Okay.
So it's about tapping into the military for unusual sources of funding. Okay, that would, for some reason, somebody by the name of George is coming to mind for me. Whatever that. So file that name away, George.
Okay.
Okay. But let me just check really quickly your.
What about the name Khaled?
What is it?
Khaled.
Didn't jump at me, but do you know this person's sign?
No, sorry.
Okay. Just really quickly, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to punch up your astrocartography very quickly and look at Jordan for you, and then I'm going to transition to the next part of the show here. So let me just go to the Middle East and find out what Jordan looks like for you. Okay, so I'm looking at where are we? Turkey, Syria, Lebanon. So you have Saturn going right through that part of the world for you. It's right on your midheaven. Saturn runs right through Jordan, and Saturn on your midheaven is not a bad place. So let me just read this for you. Okay, so it says here. Your pride and strong ambition can attract powerful opponents, but you meet such opposition with stoic serenity and unflinching firmness. Trusting in your own abilities, you make patience and time a prerequisite to all your endeavors, and this turns out in your favor. In these regions, there's a good chance of coming closer to finding your true destiny. You divorce yourself from misleading illusions or false ideals, and focus your efforts on solving attending problems. Step by step, you make your long-term projects come true. You are generally admired for the way in which you complete tasks, through which you gain recognition and respect. You are seen as a public role model for independence and discipline. Voila.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Well,
what a lot of information.
It is a lot of information. This is true. But, you know, I think you can handle it. I think you're up to it. All right. Well, Athena, I want to thank you again for calling all the way from Jordan. And please take care of yourself over there. And, you know, with Neptune at your midheaven, the phrase keep the faith, I think is apropos.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye,
Take
Rob.
care. Bye-bye. Salam. Salam alaikum, as they say in the Middle East. All right. I'm going to play a little bit of music. And I just have to go outside and check my car. They're doing like a parking thing here today, which I forgot about. So let me play this. Let me play a little sound vibrations because I don't want YouTube to ding me. Let me do that. Actually, I'll do sound vibrations. I'll be back in 5 minutes and 4 seconds. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix, your host.
One of nature's greatest wonders is the ability of the human ear to distinguish among the millions of sounds around us. Listen. You will hear later how these characteristics are determined by the frequency, intensity, and form of sound waves in the air. Recognize those sounds? Sure. It's these vibrations which your brain interprets as sound.
Well, that was yours truly, a.k.a. Dominatrix. Sound vibrations. I did that, when did I do that? I think I did that about 4 years ago, 2008. I think I did that in 2008. Back when I was crunching out tracks on, it was all pretty much GarageBand. I think I might have done one track on Logic Express. So anyway, sound vibrations. I was just in the chat room. By the way, you're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix, your host. And you can go to my website, robertphoenix.com, and you can read more about the stuff that I write about, think about, feel about, and do my best to investigate. I'm getting ready to put up some more stuff later this week. Just don't have a lot of time all the time to devote solely to writing for the website. I wish I had more. Let's put it that way. I was asked about Barack Obama's Chiron return in the chat room, and I believe it's at 5 degrees. And so here's the issue with Obama and the Obama chart. Okay, okay. I don't believe that the birth chart that we're given based on his birth certificate and time is the right chart. I don't. Which is why I don't do a lot of analysis on Obama's chart. I've done some. I did some analysis on the Barry Shabazz chart, which I thought was interesting, and in some ways was more Obama-esque. But I've looked at 3 separate charts for Obama, and one of the things that we can conclude is that Chiron is going to be in Pisces, and whoever's in the White House is going to have to deal with Chiron and Pisces. But let's look at what 5 degrees Pisces is with the Sabian symbols. So we look at 5-6. I think I've done this before, actually. Pisces 5 is a church bazaar. Pisces 6 is interesting. Let's look at Pisces 6. Sabian symbols. This is the Dane Rudyer interpretation. A parade of army officers in full dress. So the keynote is the dedication of human beings to the service of their community and the assurance that it will be emotionally sustained by the people at large. Here we see at work the emotion-rousing appeal of social activities which demand the surrendering by the individual of his personal way of life, his opinions, and comfort. The socializing process is pictured in all its intensity. But what is implied even more is the support that the socialized person can expect from the collectivity if he is ready to act and to sacrifice himself for the nation or the group. This is the first symbol of the 68 series. It allegorizes the power generated by a totally accepted and enforced collective discipline, and the exaltation and mass response which he who has achieved this self-surrender to a social tradition can expect in return. The key word is group responsibility. So this is apparently going to be Barack Obama's cross to bear as his Chiron returns to 5-6 degrees Pisces, and it could be a theme that is played out in the social collective. So is Obama going to be the person that will sacrifice his individuality for the will of the people? Meaning Meaning, is his individuality going to be projected onto the American landscape in the end of what we call sovereignty or individual freedom going to be sacrificed for the quote-unquote higher good? It's an interesting question to think about with Chiron, because Chiron is, in many ways the shadow, right? It is the shadow of our lives. In my experience, Chiron it's the manifestation of shame in astrology. If you look at all the other planets, maybe the exception of Neptune, shame is not always a key word that we would use to describe most of the planets. Saturn and Mercury, to some extent, mostly Saturn, is organized and generated towards the eradication of shame through the act of achievement and rising in social prominence. But it's not really, shame is not the main base note or keynote for Saturn. We find shame really in Chiron, because I've explored this and explained this on the show before, that we become socialized through shame to a large extent, whether it's saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, acting out the wrong thing, whatever those things are at a social level. We become reprimanded either through our peer group, through our parents, through our brothers and sisters, through our institutions, whether it's school or a church or a synagogue. That's where Chiron comes into play. And so then what we do is we cover up that moment, and we work with that shame-based moment throughout our lives, and try to strengthen it, express it, purify it, whatever that thing is. That's Chiron. And so unless we deal with that personally, a lot of times what we'll do is we will project that out into the world, because it keeps us safe, right? That projection creates a safe space between us and our most vulnerable places, i.e. our shame. So if the Chiron at 6 degrees is about the sacrifice of the individual for the greater good of the higher collective, and if the person who is supposed to undergo that experience does not undergo that experience, and instead projects that out onto the collective, well, that can be problematic, especially if that person is a president. So let's say, for instance, let's back this up. If I were Barack Obama, and I'm sitting in the White House, and I'm going through my Chiron return, and my Chiron return would be to surrender my individual will, which is really what this degree of Chiron is talking about in Pisces, to the collective. What would that mean to me? How would I experience that? Well, I'll tell you how, from sitting here, in this chair, not his chair, what that would mean to me. That would mean that I would surrender myself to the will of the people, because that's the collective. I would not surrender myself to the will of Goldman Sachs, or to the will of Raytheon, or to the will of Monsanto. I would surrender myself to the will of the people. It would be like, okay, I get it. You want jobs. I get that. You want your personal rights and freedoms back. I get that. Oh, yeah, you want me to close Guantanamo? Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, I get those things. All right, I'm going to do it. That's a huge risk. But what is Pisces about? Pisces, there's a lot of sacrifice related. It's a very charged, very, very charged relationship. Or it's a charged concept, sacrifice, whatever that means. So I would say that Sabian symbol theoretically should be internalized versus externalized. Now, here's what's happening. We're all going to be going through Chiron and Pisces at 6 degrees. It does not really bode well on some level. I mean, look, if everything was set up so that we had equal rights, equal freedom, and equal financial compensation in regards to, backing off of the toxically driven version of capitalism that we've been subjected to ever since Reagan got into office, would that be a sacrifice worth making? Maybe. I don't know. We have nothing really to base it on. Nothing. One of these days on my Friday show, I want to get into the two models of kind of where we're headed economically, theoretically. There's socialism and social credit, which are two different things. And so the whole social credit model was adopted by Benito Mussolini in response to the socialism that was being practiced and worked on by the Bolsheviks. It would be interesting to have people, because there are people that are social credit advocates in the world that would be interesting to have on the show to explore that model. Basically, there is an ability to not only work in the private sector, but also devote your time to the public sector in order to earn social credit and money. So there are two forms of compensation that can take place. So, for instance, it would be working on large-scale projects and being compensated for those large-scale projects that are somehow related to infrastructure, kind of like a WPA, but more on the private side versus the public side. But there would be kind of an interface between the two. Social credit does not disavow the private sector. Okay, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Del. But you know what? He's calling in here. I want to bring my friend Del on and just talk. I want to bring my friend Del on because he's a cool guy and he's going through a lot of really positive changes in his life. And I'm not going to put him on the spot, so don't worry about that. But I want to bring him on and and I want to just touch base with him and see where we can go. Hey, Del. Are you there?
Hello?
Oh, hey, I thought you were my friend. So you're not Del. Who are you?
Hey, friends.
Wait, I thought you were it's almost the same number. What's your name?
My name's Carol.
Hey, Carol. My friend lives in, Burlingame. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm in Redwood City. But hey, let's be friends, huh?
Well, welcome to the show, Carol. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm great. Well, so what's on your mind today?
Well, I was going to give you my birth date and see money-wise where I'm going.
Okay, let's take a quick peek at that. Give me a second here.
Mm-hmm.
When's your birthday?
7/31/52.
So you're a water dragon.
Yes.
This is your year.
I know. That's what I thought.
In a big
way. Birthday this year, a dragon, a Leo.
Wow. Okay. So
so what does that mean is going to happen? Yoo-hoo, let's make it good.
Yeah. What time were you born?
5:30, San Francisco.
AM or PM?
PM.
All right. I like dragon people, but then again, I'm a rat, so it makes sense. I've always gotten along famously with dragon people.
Well, we're powerful.
Yeah, indeed. Every dragon person I've met has been a pretty kick-ass person.
Usually, I am. Yeah.
All right. So.
But my money's not doing so well because it's all in real estate. So.
Well, I tell you, I just talked to a guy this morning who works for Wells Fargo in the Valley, and he said that the Valley is being flooded with money right now, and a lot of Google people are cashing out their stock options and buying houses. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, you may want to get yourself down to Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and start hanging out down there, because he's doing a lot of business in that area.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm helping this man remodel a house in Palo Alto, so.
Okay.
I mean,
it's the place to
but
be.
He's pretty old, so.
There's startup money. There's a new internet radio startup company happening there. They're living in a very different world in the Valley.
Oh, it's different. Palo Alto's different.
Yeah. So, all right, looking at your chart now, like our second caller today, Athena, that was our first caller, I believe, Rachel. You have Pluto. You have Pluto transiting your first house.
Okay.
And it's at a very early transit. You have your ascendant is 25 degrees Sagittarius. By the way, my Jupiter is right on your ascendant.
Okay.
Ascendant, yeah.
And that's good when Jupiter gets in you, in your chart.
Well,
get Jupiter in me, yeah.
No, so basically what it would mean is that you and I could go out and have a hell of a good time if we decided to party. Maybe too good.
Okay. I always have a good time.
So Pluto, this is a really interesting point. We were just talking about Sabian symbols, and I actually know the Sabian symbol for the degree of your ascendant, which is a flag. It's a flag bearer, raises a flag in battle, and it's an interesting Sabian symbol because essentially what it means is that you're kind of a pioneer with that ascendant, that you are willing to go out ahead of the crowd and fly your flag, whatever that is, and get there first. Okay, it's a great symbol to have for your ascendant. So with that in mind, that it's a risk-taking symbol. So that's good. It's actually it's a good symbol to have there. Pluto is now at 6 degrees, and it's almost on your natal Chiron at 7 degrees. So you're about to go through a Pluto-Chiron conjunction, and that's a very, very powerful conjunction. And I use the word powerful because Pluto in Capricorn is all about power. I mean, we're seeing that right now with the government. The government has been flexing its muscles ever since Pluto got into Capricorn. It bails out banks, it's buying companies, it's insurance, its own insurance business. I mean, it's like, you know what? We're not your dad's government, your granddad's government anymore. This is government on steroids. It's spending more than ever. It's making unilateral choices based on our freedoms and rights. That's Pluto in Capricorn. So if that's happening with the government, that's in your first house. So that theoretically should also be your own personal evolution. You are dealing with power. These are power issues. How can you be, quote unquote, more powerful? How can you influence people in positions of power, institutions? When Pluto transits a house like that, it's almost like it's asking you to step your game up and play at a much higher level.
Really?
And when with Chiron in Capricorn in the first house is kind of like doing this dance with power. Well, I want power, but I don't want power. I want responsibility, but I don't want the responsibility that comes with having power, right? It's all that stuff. If I really set out and do this, well, now I'm beholden to all these people, either from a corporate standpoint or if you start your own company from an employee standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
That's Chiron in Capricorn. People that have Chiron in Capricorn, have a sense of mission and purpose in life. That right now it's important because it's a generational thing. It's not just you, but it's a generational thing with a lot of people that have Chiron and Capricorn. It's like, this is your time. Theoretically, this would be your time to be elected to, being a congressperson or a senator or running for office. You're moving into your sage cycle, your generation, but especially with Chiron and Capricorn. And Pluto is right on.
So I need to step up the work syndrome?
Yeah, well, because,
I'm going to be 60 this year, and it's like, I don't really want to step up the work syndrome.
It's not about work. It's really about power. It's about power. And you can be powerful. For instance, one of the things that would be powerful would be to, sit on the board of directors with somebody.
Okay.
That's Pluto conjunct Chiron in Capricorn. It's like, here, take your seat at the table. Be a decision maker. Pluto on Chiron it's not only about power, but it's about influence. And it's about really understanding how you can be more powerful, more influential, and taking yourself, I would say, taking yourself more seriously on some level and less seriously on others. Because what we know about Capricorn is that as people that have a strong Capricornian influence in their chart get older, they tend to get younger, and they tend to lighten up and play more. So there's part of that with Chiron in your chart as well. But with Pluto sitting right on it, it's how can you? It's really about taking yourself more seriously without taking yourself more seriously. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. So we know that that's happening. And what I would do in terms of real estate, are you still trying to make a living out of that?
Yeah, except I'd like to sell one, but you know how the market is, so I'm waiting for the market to come back to unload one or two.
Yeah. So here's what what Pluto and Chiron says, right? Is that you need to hang out with a different clientele. That's really what it's about. You've got to touch into people with power and influence. That's that Capricorn. It's about networking with a much more robust income base.
Yeah. There goes all my fun, grungy friends. Okay.
I hate to say that, but
it's true. I know what you mean. I do need to surround myself with people that are going to take you up the ladder. But those grunges are fun,
Well, they are, absolutely. Now, here's the good news, right? The good news is that you've got some really nice aspects coming up with Uranus to your sun. Uranus is going to be it's at a kind of a wide trine with your sun right now. But, as it gets closer and closer over the course of the next year and a half, it's going to get tighter and tighter in that trine with your sun. And that's cool. Your sun trine Uranus allows you to take more risks. And you've got Uranus in the fourth house. What's the fourth house? It's real estate, right? Actually, Uranus is still in your third house. My bad. But it will get closer and closer to your fourth house. And you're going to have a Uranus fourth house run. Uranus is in your third house now, but it's still going to be trining your sun. And that means taking more risks, finding newer ways to market yourself. The third house is all about the world around you. It's, as I mentioned earlier in the show, it's 15, 20, 25 miles away. As it begins to trine your sun, it's about being unconventional, and that's really important because your sun is your identity. And you've got your sun in the 8th house. And what's really interesting about sun in the 8th house is, or any planet in the 8th house, and you've got Sun, Venus, Pluto, and Mercury all in the 8th house, is that a lot of times people don't really see the true you with sun in the 8th house. They don't really get that you're this, really powerful Leo, water sign. So what they may get is they may get more of your moon in the 11th, 12th, your Mars in the 11th in Scorpio, Jupiter and Taurus in the 5th. Those, by the way, those all are in a T-square with Pluto and Venus in your 8th. So they may get those planets more, but they don't really get the kind of the full totality of your identity. Whenever you've got a planet like the Sun in the 8th house or the 12th house, and to some extent the 4th house, nobody always really sees the real you, So with Uranus trining your Sun, it's a unique opportunity for you to bring your personality out in more unconventional, quirky, kind of cutting-edge ways. So the 3rd house, again, is all about the world around you. How can you market yourself in unique, cutting-edge, unconventional ways? The old way would be stick your photo up on a bench at a bus stop, right?
I'm not a realtor. This is on my own real estate. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. So if you can kind of package yourself in a unique way, people will take notice. It's great. It's also finding unconventional sources of funding, because theoretically, with all those planets in the 8th house, you would be able to find really unique angels, bankers, suitors. You have that ability to tap into other people's resources, in the 8th house. Uranus would be find new, unique, and unconventional ways in order to do that. Hanging out with different people is really, I think, going to be very important for you in 2012. Don't give up the grungy type. Don't give up the artistic type and the eccentric type, because you can find eccentric people with money. Trust me on that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So you think I should try to get on a board of some sort? Cause
I would. I would.
Okay.
Definitely. Start rub elbows with those people. It's a good place for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got your Jupiter return coming this year. You've got Jupiter in Taurus at 18 degrees, and Jupiter's in your 5th house. So, again, creativity, Jupiter's part of that T-square. And when Jupiter hits your Jupiter, it's going to be tweaking your Pluto. It's going to be tweaking your Mercury, your Venus. Again, it's all 8th house stuff. So, shake the tree. There's fruit coming out of that tree. And that happens within the first 2 months of this year. Really going out towards April, May. May's a big month for you.
May is a big month. Okay.
Very big month. May, K and May.
Okay.
Are you the person that had the daughter in some issues?
Yeah.
It's funny. I got to tell you, I'm going to share something with you. I was thinking about you earlier in the show.
Wow.
Because
and I called you like last year, probably about 4 months or so ago.
Yeah, because here's what I was thinking. I was thinking about people. It was actually triggered by the woman who called me from Athena, who called me from Jordan. I had been in contact with a woman who was living in Spain for a while, and then she just kind of dropped off my radar. And then I thought about other people who had been calling into the show and had dropped off my radar, and you popped into my mind.
Wow.
Because you called in a couple of times for whatever reason. I remembered you.
Yeah, she's always caused me issues, but she's starting to come out of it. She's an Aries. She's 4/2/90.
So your 5th house is also children, right? So the Jupiter conjunction would theoretically mean that she will be becoming much more stable.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
No wonder I can step up the powerhouse.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, when you have kids that drive you nuts, it's like having an IV in your arm.
Well, look, I've got all that to look forward to. My kid's only 7 years old, but I can only imagine.
Well, my 13-year-old boy, if you have a boy, boys are great.
No, he's cool.
Yeah. Boys are so much easier than girls today.
he's a typical boy. He just had surgery last week, and of course, you know, he can't be running around. And what's he doing? First day of school, he's running around. And he got kicked in the area, close to the area where he had surgery. So that was it's minor, I'm sure, compared to what could happen. But these are the problems that I'm dealing with right now, or challenges.
Yeah. No, but my 13-year-old boy, he's like an angel. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Boys are much easier to raise today. It's the girls it's all those shows, Girls Gone Wild, and they're all wild.
I you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I have a good friend, who has an 8-year-old girl, and she's also got a 6-year-old boy, and I take my son down to her place every now and then, and all three of them were playing really well, and then the 8-year-old girl started watching iCarly, and I got to tell you that 3 or 4 weeks of iCarly changed that girl, and she went.
And that's one of the easy shows.
She went from being kind of a cool little girl to a total brat within like 3 to 4 weeks. And I told her mom, and her mom knows, and so she's iCarly's gone. Anyway, you're gonna have a good year. This it's your year. You've got the Jupiter return. You're a water dragon. It's the water dragon.
Well, that's what I said at New Year's. I go, ooh, year of the dragon. And I said, 2012, here I go, and a big birthday. I'm on my way.
You are. Okay. So listen, when you make it
so my money's going to look better too then?
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, you're going to feel so generous with your money in 2012 that you're going to circle back here and you're going to say, Robert, you've been so cool to me over the last couple of years that I'm gonna lay a nice big fat donation on your website.
I hope so. I'd love to be in that position in life.
That's how
with everyone. You know what I'm saying? That would just be my dream come true to say, you know what, I hit it and I'm just giving it.
All right, well, let's make that happen, all right?
Okay, so I'll get on some board and I'll touch base with you again.
All right, thanks, Carol. Take good care.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. That was fun, Carol. It's funny. I was just thinking about her not long ago. All right, let's find out who's hanging out on the 720 line. Come on. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Who are you and where are you calling from?
My name is Diane, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Diane, are you a Tebow fan?
Yes, I am.
So, have you ever been to my website, Diane?
No, I haven't.
Well, this would be a good opportunity for me to tell you about my website, robertphoenix.com. And on the 12th of October, I did a big thing on Tim Tebow and his chart. And I predicted huge success for Tim Tebow. Now, somebody say, well, that's not rocket science. But I got to tell you, if you're a sports fan and if you looked at what was happening in Denver astrologically at the time, it was not a slam dunk, because I don't know how much you know about his astrology or about John Fox, the coach, but John Fox is an Aquarius, and his sun sign is opposite Tim Tebow. And at that time, Kyle Orton was the quarterback, and Kyle Orton is a Scorpio. So the three of them formed a T-square, all in fixed signs. And it was very sketchy as to whether or not Tim Tebow would have been able to actually get any playing time with Kyle Orton as part of that fixed T-square. But, for whatever reason, I could probably look at Kyle Orton's chart. Maybe it was Jupiter moving him out of there opposite his sun. But he got moved out of the way, and that triangulation ended. And now John Fox and Tim Tebow are in this very interesting synergy between Aquarius and Leo, and working together in a very positive way. It's actually the most positive aspect of the opposition, and they're doing great things there. So I thought I'd just share that with you.
Oh, my goodness. I definitely got to put that on my website, my Facebook. But, yeah, we're all excited here in Denver, and Tebow has turned out to be an extraordinary player, you know what I mean? And we're all proud to have him here as our leader for our team, you know. We're just hoping to take you to the Super Bowl.
Well, enough about Tim Tebow. Let's talk about Diane. What's on your mind today?
Well, I want to know what's in my path for 2012. My birth date is 7/24/1958.
7/24/1958. Okay.
I'm wondering if there's any money coming my way financially, and if where that's going to take me.
And what time were you born?
I was born at 8:13 a.m.
Okay. And where did that take place?
In New York, Bayport, New York.
Okay.
In Long Island.
Let's just do New York should be good enough.
I'm looking at the website right now.
Yeah, my Tim Tebow piece, maybe somebody can put it up in the chat room, and there'll be the link there. I did it on October, so it would be kind of hidden a little bit. Okay, so I'm looking at your chart. How much do you know about your chart, by the way?
A little bit. You know, a lot of things I've looked at have come to pass, and can't really pinpoint anything that I do know. So,
okay. So now you're Virgo rising, and you have Moon in Scorpio, and of course we know that you're a Leo sun. And what's really interesting about your chart is you have Mercury and Pluto both on your ascendant. Okay, and your Mercury is in Leo, and of course your Pluto's in Leo. I'm sorry, your Pluto's in Virgo, and it's at 0 degrees Virgo, right at the beginning of Pluto and Virgo. So you're an intense character with Pluto in the first house, right on the ascendant. People who have Pluto on the ascendant, don't do things halfway. They're very, this is how it's going to get done, especially with Virgo. And how does that translate for you in 2012? Well, right now Jupiter is at 0 degrees Taurus. Okay, so you're going through a Jupiter-Pluto trine right now as we speak. And Jupiter is sitting right on your natal Mars at 2 degrees. So you've got a Jupiter-Mars conjunction and a Jupiter-Pluto trine. And Mars is in your 8th house. And Mars right now, or in your natal chart, is there's a thing called a yod, or a finger of God, and not every chart has it. I've had 2 charts today that do have it. They're pretty unique. And that Mars is a very critical planet in your chart. It's at the fingertip of your yod. And on the backside of that are Jupiter, your true node, and Neptune. So you've got Mars opposite Jupiter, Mars opposite your true node, and Mars in direct opposition to Neptune in your chart. So this is these are tricky energies, especially the Mars-Neptune opposition. The good news is that Jupiter is right there on your Mars right now, and it's trining your Pluto like right now. So here's what I would do. Generally speaking, as an astrologer, I would say there is money around you that you don't know about. Okay? There are resources that you can tap into that you don't know about. They could be family related. They could be something that could have been part of maybe somebody's pension or 401k, or something that might have gone unnoticed. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say to you is I would say put on your detective's cap. And again, I know nothing about your situation or your family, but I would look around, and I would look around to people who have either passed away within the last, say, 10 years, people that have moved away. There is some form of detective work that if you did right now, you might be surprised as to what you could find. It could be a pension that might have gone into abeyance that, based on some weird contractual piece or some line of tax code or something, you might actually be enabled to get or receive. Okay? So what I would share to you is look around. Instead of waiting for divine providence to smile upon you, look around and look at people in your life. Again, family related, because this is like third house stuff. Brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, and or could be to some extent grandparents. But do some due diligence, because my sense here would be that there's something that you've overlooked, that you're entitled.
You're absolutely right, because I have been trying to investigate that. I have monies coming to me. I know from my brother passed away. I just don't know how to, do my detective work on it. You know what I mean? There's like 3 interests and wills that I am looking back on in the state for my family. So, yeah, and I'm also waiting for like Social Security to kick in, but I really don't have a clue to how to go, Rosie.
Well, okay. I mean, so the first thing we've done is we've acknowledged that this is indeed a possibility. All right, and our conversation is a confirmation of that. That's Jupiter, sort of manifesting through our time together here. So what I would say to you would be, you want to kind of drill down into your brother's life, and you want to talk to co-workers or friends of your brother. Okay, that's where I would start, because I believe that these people would have some answers for you. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you are not the only person that this has happened to in relation to your brother, and that there is kind of a very faint trail that you can follow, but a trail nonetheless that would lead you. So I would try to find people that have worked with your brother, because my sense is that you'll find a couple of pieces of information that can be very critical for you. And if you can find those pieces of information, there's a good chance that you may find a lawyer that would look at it and say, you know what, there's enough here for me to make some money off of this. I'll take your case and let's pursue this.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you have hit it right on the head, especially with my brother. And yes, I do know a lot of his coworkers because we used to work together. So I'm definitely going to go after what you just said. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you confirmed what I thought was real.
Well, good. Well, do it now. Don't waste much time, because you want to take advantage of Jupiter being there. I mean, the doors are swinging wide open for this.
Okay.
And I would say move with a sense of controlled urgency.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. I definitely will. And Robert, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on your website and try to put that information on Facebook or any other info out there on your predictions as far as Evo. And I'd love to. Yeah, I live right down the street from the stadium. I mean, literally, could probably walk there in 10 minutes.
Wow.
So
I've been to that area. That's a cool area. All you got to do is just type in Tim Tebow on my site. You'll be able to get. I'm going to have another post on Tim Tebow, I think probably today or tomorrow. And basically what it is, right? It's a very biblical kind of like, tale. So you have Tim Tebow. Of course, Tim Tebow is Jesus, right? And then you've got Josh McDaniels, who used to coach for the Denver Broncos, who drafted Tim Tebow, who has now, by the way, been hired by the New England Patriots, and who they play this weekend. And Josh McDaniels is a Taurus. And, Josh McDaniels is playing the role of Judas, right? And Bill Belichick, who is the coach of the Patriots, is Pontius Pilate. He's an Aries, and Aries is always associated with the military. right? So Aries is Rome. Aries is the god of war well, it's Mars in Rome, but he's the god of war in Greece, which is the military. And then, of course, Bob Kraft, who is the owner of the New England Patriots, is Nicodemus, who is the Pharisee, who is Gemini. So there's a whole kind of interesting biblical thing getting played out this weekend in this game. I'll be writing about that on my website. Diane, thank you for calling in, and I wish you all the best. Get on that trail, and it's there. It's open. Step through that portal before it closes, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, Robert, and I'll be back to contact you again. Have a wonderful day, and hope to see you at the Super Bowl.
Broncos, Niners. I like that. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, that's our friend Diane from Denver. I've got 13 minutes left in the show. I got a bunch of people. All of a sudden, everybody decided to wait to the end of the show to call in. Okay, so you can, the show's 2 hours long, and I had very few calls in the first hour. So if you call back in, try to squeeze it in earlier in the show. I'm going to try to take as many calls as I can in the closing minutes. So we're going to do now. There's a lot of people on the line. I'm just going to do some solar charts versus natal charts. Hi, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Are you talking to me?
I am.
Oh, my God, I'm so excited. Oh, my God. My name is Julie, and I'm calling from Arizona.
Hey, Julie from Arizona. Hi. So let's just jump into your question, because I got a lot of people on the phone. Want to get to them. What's your birthday?
My birthday is June 16th, 1968, and I was born at 2:07 p.m.
All right, let's just look at your solar chart here, June 16th, 58. Did you say 58 or 68? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, 68.
68, June 15th, 68. Okay. Okay. So what do you want to talk about really quickly?
Well, I want to know what is it. It's been a very tumultuous past 3 years. I used to be a canine officer, and then I got lupus, and now I got out of my job, and now my lupus symptoms have subsided, and I just want to know what's next. What do I do? I'm feeling good. I want to start my life again somewhere positive, and I don't know really what's ahead for me.
Okay, so really quickly, as I look at your chart, you have an incredible amount of Gemini in your chart. You've got Sun in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Mars in Gemini. I mean, you're more Gemini than almost any person I've ever met in my life. And by the way, Mercury, Venus, and Mars and your Sun, they're all conjunct. And they're all conjunct within, at the most, 5 degrees. And in fact, some of the conjunctions like Venus and Sun are almost exact in your chart. So the good news is that Jupiter is going to be in Gemini this year. The Jupiter is not going to be touching those planets directly until the end of its cycle, which is 2013. But, I'm kind of a new school astrologer. So it's like when Jupiter changes signs, you're going to feel the impact of it anyway, regardless, whether or not it's 10 degrees or 20 degrees, you're still going to feel Jupiter's shift. And so what that means for you is greater confidence, greater clarity, expanded relationships. You've got Mars in Gemini, and it's conjunct your Sun. Mars in Gemini is the most restless Mars in the zodiac. So you have to stay moving, periods of short periods of rest are important, but the more you rest, the more lethargic you get. So
that's funny. That's true.
So you need to keep moving. And when I hear you, I hear kind of an urgency to get something going in your life. Let me say this: I would say doing something now, anything now, is better than doing nothing. Okay.
Right.
You don't really necessarily want to wait for the Jupiter Express to come in, in the middle part of 2013. Just do anything now to get going, okay? And to stay active and to stay focused. You've got Uranus coming up on your natal Chiron in Aries, So again, there's more of a sense of restlessness. You know, Uranus on Aries is saying take control of your life. You know, Uranus and Uranus on Chiron is saying take control of your life, and guide it in a way that is not even really meaningful, but is like, you know, I'm doing shit. I'm making things happen. You know.
Right.
So where do you live?
I live in Sierra Vista, Arizona, and I used to be a federal canine officer.
Federal canine officer. Okay.
Correct. I was on the southern border for over 13 years.
Okay. So what you need to do is just, I'm going to say something I wouldn't normally say to anybody. What you need to do right now is take a job, any job. Okay. Whether it's doing security, which you could probably get pretty easily, by the way. I think you could get a security job very quickly. But what you've got to do is you got to get moving. With that Mars and Gemini, you can't sit around. You know.
I know.
So just get something, make something happen now, whatever that thing is, and worry about how meaningful it is later. You're going to be able to pick up on the meaning train when Jupiter comes into Gemini in 2013. So my advice for you is just to make it happen. Make it happen now. Okay? Get moving.
Like now. Like get my resumes out now.
Yes, get your resumes out now. I get a sense that you could easily get a security job. Easily.
Well, I have a degree too.
Okay. So if you can get a degree related job, great. Even better. But what I'm saying is, if you can just get something now while you're working to get something that's degree, sort of, you know, corresponding to your degree or matches your degree, even better. I often would not say to anybody, because I'm a big find something that fits guy. With you right now, I'm not sure fit matters. What matters is to get off that Mars and to get moving.
Okay. I'm off.
Okay.
I think I'm off. Oh, I'm supposed to ask you if I should be getting involved with my friend's art project. In Jordan.
Oh, really? Is that your friend?
We've known each other over 20 years.
Yes, I would say yes. That's yes.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. You know why? Because she needs somebody on the back end. She's got that Venus on the back end of her yacht, and you can be that Venus. Her Venus is in Taurus. You know, yours is in Gemini. It doesn't really matter, but she needs support on that back end. So I would say yes. Thumbs up.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was an interesting call. All right. Let's see. It's I got 5 minutes left. Let's take this 978 call. They've been on the line the longest.
Hi.
Hey, hi there.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for taking my call. I love the show.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Ann.
Ann, of course, Ann.
And my birthday's 7/21/56.
Aren't you the one that lives in Long Island or someplace like that, or
Boston?
Boston.
I called once before, but I listen to the show all the time.
Okay. So are you the person that does Reiki?
Yeah, I do energy work. Yeah.
That's right.
I do. Yeah, it's not Reiki, but it's very similar.
That's right. We've talked. Yes. I see. This is Mars and Cancer. I have a very retentive memory for these things.
I guess. Wow.
All right. So, and you were born in what, 56? Is that right?
Yeah, 7/21/56.
All right. I've only got about 5 minutes here, so let's get into your chart.
I was born at 5:17 a.m.
So you're a monkey, and the year of the dragon is kind to monkeys.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah.
I could use that.
I see your chart. I see your solar chart here. All right. So what are we've got really about 4 minutes, Ann. What can I focus on very quickly within 4 minutes?
Just my spiritual journey now.
Spiritual journey now. Okay. All All right, so let's stay with the Jupiter theme. It looks like it's been a big player here for us, and Jupiter is trining your natal Jupiter right now. Jupiter, you've got Jupiter in Virgo, and I think we've gotten into this on the show before. With Jupiter in Virgo, spiritual healing, physical healing, all that stuff is very important in terms of who you are. That's if we ascribe to the theory that if we follow the energy of Jupiter and expand into Jupiter, that's where our opportunities meet us, then for you, it's all Virgoan. Virgoan is, physical healing. It's soma. It's the mind-body connection. And it's expanding through that. And Jupiter right now is in Taurus, and it's trining your Jupiter in Virgo. So I would say you want to take advantage of that really over the course of the next 30 days. How can you expand what you do? How can you expand your practice? How can you get a couple of clients who will be like what I would call domino clients and start to recommend you to other people? That's really, that's the story for you. And you've got, the Jupiter trine it's kind of a big deal, in terms of your, let's see. Yeah, that's where I'd focus that is exactly where I'd focus my energy. You've also got, this Uranus trine happening, and it's exact. And Uranus trines allow you to get, more radical and more risky with your identity and things that you do. Uranus trines are really tremendous for synchronicity. Mm-hmm. So, pay attention to synchronicities in a very big way. Uranus in Leo is unconventional. It allows you to express the unconventional aspects of your personality. So I would definitely, play with that as well. Uranus trines are programming the universe. It's like, here's what I want. Now, I'd love to see how that comes back to me.
Yeah, manifesting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Manifesting very quickly. The thing with Uranus and Leo is, it's about authority. It's unconventional authority. Manifesting is, I will and decree.
Right.
I affirm and decree that this is going to happen in my life.
Right.
That's
I've been doing it, and I'm not hailing other people, but I am hailing myself, and I think that it's going to be accelerated.
Good.
And I believe that I can manifest anything.
Good. So this is the time. You've got the nice trine between Jupiter to Jupiter. You've got the nice trine between Uranus and Uranus. So it's all about intention, refining your attention, owning your attention, and claiming your intention. Okay?
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds powerful.
I'm going to have to say goodbye. The show is over. Thank you for calling and checking back in.
Oh, thank you so much. Very, very good. Thank you. Bye now.
All right. Take care. That's our friend Ann from Boston. And with that, I must say goodbye. I want to thank everybody for calling in and being a part of the show. So you know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real. To stay open to what's possible. I'll be back on Friday, hopefully with a guest. This is Robert Phoenix, and you've been navigating the astrological matrix with me. Take good care, and I'll see you soon.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.